Hey all, good morning and welcome to Share Trek. This is Raj here. What a week it was. Today I want to recap the week and speculate on what might happen next week. I'm not going into nitty-gritties, but I'm going to talk about overall at a high level what happened, what's likely to happen. I've got a few geopolitical events that are likely to happen in the next couple of weeks. It could happen anytime. So I'm going to be talking about those, and we'll start keeping track of those activities or those events so that we don't get a surprise in the market. And today I also want to share with you my thoughts about my plans for the next 4 weeks in terms of topics. So let's get started. Welcome back, friends. Last week, the PPI showed inflation expectations were increasing, and that should have meant that the Fed should get hawkish and the market should fall. Instead of that, on that day, the market rose within a few hours into trading. The next day, we had the PPI that was above expectations, and the market dropped quickly, but very quickly picked up. And later on, we had the bank results come in towards the end of the week, and the bank results were mixed. Banks are facing greater liquidity constraints and are having to fund loan growth with higher cost deposits and funding sources. All of us know that the Fed is doing a lot of quantitative tightening, which means the Fed is not renewing mortgage-backed securities. That means banks have less money available from a cheap resource like the Fed for originating new mortgages. So that's definitely having an impact. This, along with the weaker outlook for Q4 from the banks, was sufficient to send the indices down towards the end of the week. This is at a very high level, the way I look at what happened in the past week. I must confess that I was perplexed when the market shrugged off the PPI and CPI numbers and continued to go up. Now, about the next week, I think that we may start Monday positive, but we may face some high volatility. We'll probably see Russian nuclear exercises by the end of next week around Ukraine, and that can have a negative bearing on the stock markets, but it may boost the defense stocks. So if anyone is playing on defense stock, you better keep a track of that. It might already started raising. Chinese media reports that a key congress of the ruling Communist Party is expected to take place on October 16th, at which leader Xi Jinping is expected to be granted a third 5-year term. And when Xi gets re-elected, he'll be coming back stronger and less restrained, in my opinion. At the same time, the US midterms will keep US on the back foot, while it is not clear if Biden will run a second term and how DOJ prosecution will handle the Trump insurrection case and the fallout thereof. So at this point of time, going into the Communist conference, Xi Jinping is a bit weak as compared to Biden, because Biden has got both the House and the Senate and the White House. So that's a slightly stronger position for Biden. But after Xi Jinping comes out of the Communist Party election and comes back victorious, he's going to be extra strong as compared to Biden, because Biden will have to go through the midterms, outcome of the midterms, the Trump case, how DOJ handles it, and also decide whether he is going to stand for election in 2024 and whether the Democrats can get a suitable candidate who can win the election in 2024. So all those things are likely to bog down United States, along with the fact that it is currently handling a lot of support for Ukraine, and the GOP doesn't want to support Ukraine. When I talk about GOP, I'm talking about the dominant part of GOP, which is the MAGA GOP, not the traditional GOP. And the MAGA GOP is ruling the GOP at this point of time, and therefore there's an inherent conflict in there with its own dynamics that causes weakness for USA. So this will also have a bearing on the semiconductor dominance battle and the manufacturing dependence of the West on China. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And you also saw the kind of games that Elon Musk has been playing while he gave the Starlink satellite system to the Ukrainian forces to fight. At that time, there was no end game there, but then he came in from the back door and he proposed a truce in which Ukraine would be losing and Russia would be winning. I mean, the Ukrainian ambassador said that, F off. That's what he literally wrote on Twitter. And now Elon Musk is saying that, yeah, okay, you don't get Starlink anymore. The fact remains that Russia has got the largest resources of elements and materials that Tesla needs in order to continue building electric vehicles. So that's one area of interest for him. And again, Elon Musk made some statements which are favorable to China as compared to Taiwan, and as a result, he has got tax breaks in China. So we have to watch these big billionaires who are doing things which are in their favor, and they may hop domicile from country to country depending on where they get benefit. So we have to be very careful, and when we are looking at the stocks of these companies as shareholders, because these kind of undercurrents are definitely happening there. And I think that this will also resume China's efforts to secure the bases around the Indo-Pacific, which they had started with the Belt and Road initiatives when the countries whom they funded were unable to pay back the loans. They started taking over ports and creating bases out there. So that effort of China will redouble when Xi comes back victorious with his own internal election. These are some of the possibilities that we should keep track of, and I'll be looking at them. I won't be doing a lot of geopolitical series, but geopolitics is going to be the undercurrent which will drive the markets going forward, and therefore I think we need to look at them. And now on to my ideas for the next set of topics. As I hinted, I'm thinking of adding some focus areas which I will aim to produce at least one video a week on. One of them is diabetes, because there's a lot of people all around who are suffering from diabetes, type 2 diabetes, which can be cured. And type 1 diabetes is genetic, and I have to do a little bit more research on which companies are working on these and how type 1 diabetes can be addressed, and whether it's going to be a sustainable and a viable approach with gene therapy, because we are talking about not disturbing anything in the germ cells. So I'm going to be doing some more search on that, and I'll come back to you with my findings. Guys, as you know, I'm just an investor. I'm not a scientist. So for me, all these things are new. So I'm going to be doing some in-depth research on that from all available public sources, and I'll come back to you with more information on diabetes. And we will have at least one video every week on diabetes. And we'll have another area which I'm focusing on, which is going to be cholesterol problems, anything to do with increased cholesterol. So we already have some genomic companies which are working in this area. So I will be touching upon all the causes why people have high cholesterol, and what are the things that high cholesterol causes, and which are the genomic companies which are working in this area, what is their therapies, how it is progressing. All these things will be covered phase by phase in our cholesterol series. And again, we'll have at least one video every week or once in every 2 weeks for cholesterol. I'll decide on the cadence depending on the active news items and things that are happening in the market in any given week. And the third focus area, which I've already started working on, and you might have noticed, is HIV. We are talking about Excision Biotherapeutics and their gene therapy for editing HIV virus so severely that the virus will become defunct. And I've already covered this in 2 videos. In the first videos, I spoke about Excision therapy and their gene therapy, which is in trial for HIV. And I also spoke about why HIV is difficult to handle. There are multiple reasons why HIV is difficult to handle. There are specific hurdles that pharmaceutical and genomic companies will face when they try to tackle HIV. So I had covered the first one of those reasons in my first video about excision therapy. Then I produced another video later on, I think earlier this week or earlier last week, where I was speaking about the second hurdle that companies that deal with HIV treatment have to face, and that is about the reservoir of HIV viruses in the brain, and how it has to be handled carefully, or else there could be problems from a successful gene therapy that cures HIV in the periphery and not in the brain. If you have not seen that video, you can always look back. I'll put a link in the description below. So we are already starting that strategy of coverage on HIV, but I'm going to start that for diabetes as well as cholesterol. And if any of our viewers are interested in any other area which affects a huge swath of people in terms of a condition, then I would like you to highlight that to me, or maybe a particular condition which is very niche, but any of our viewers are specifically focused on that because a family member or somebody is having that condition. Please feel free to put it in the comments below, and I'll make sure that I cover those conditions, where I'll be talking about what causes those conditions, what are the hurdles that genomic and pharmaceutical companies face in managing and treating those conditions, what are the companies that have therapies in the pipeline to address those conditions, and where they are in the pipeline, and how they are progressing. So that's going to be the general theme of things. So these are the plans, my friends, because I'm thinking ahead to the next year. We have had great success. We have had a lot of new subscribers joining us up recently, and our numbers are going up. I'm hoping that by the year end, we have around 1,000 subscribers. Then it will allow me to invest a little more on hardware and other facilities that I need in order to produce better quality videos. I would like to subcontract some production for some of the special videos so that the production quality is better. I need to calibrate a few things on the videos and on the soundtrack. And I'm right now limited because of my budgets. So once we cross thousands, I would generate some revenue through the Google ad revenues, and that can help me plow in money back into the channel in terms of more equipment and better quality of videos. So that's the plan, and therefore I'm looking at areas in which our community can get more information from an investment perspective and from perspective of understanding a disease and how it progresses and where the gene therapy companies are in terms of overcoming them. And I'll also be talking about the market size for all these conditions. So it's going to be a wholesome ongoing update series, which will help us also from the investment perspective in terms of understanding how the price trends will be for the various shares, whether they're going to spike or they're going to drop. All those things will be the benefit for us from the financial side. So with that said, my friends, I don't want to take too much of your time. That's all I have for the week. Please put your comments in terms of programming suggestions in the description below. And you all know that I respond immediately to comments, and I take your feedback seriously, and I incorporate that in the channel programming. So I look forward to your comments and your support, continued support going forward. Thanks and have a great day. Bye for now.